A very warm welcome to this special episode, and now let's set the stage for it. Everyone is excited about AI, but here's the thing, most projects never make it out of the lab. Teams run pilots, the demos look great, yes, but when it is time to scale across the enterprise, everything gets tangled in cost, governance, latency, ownership, the works. And that's exactly why we are kicking off our new series, Tata Communications presents the Pragmatic Route to Production AI in association with ETCIO. And the whole idea is to cut through the hype and look at what actually works in real businesses across India and Southeast Asia. And today's conversation goes right to the heart of it. What does it take to make AI run at enterprise standards? And not just build models, but the ownership of the entire stack, manage data and governance end to end, and run reliably across cloud and edge with predictable performance and cost. And to unpack that, we have a powerhouse panel with us. Please join me in welcoming Ganesh Sahai, CTO at Nagarro Software. We're also joined in by Amit Pradhan, VP and CIO at Dixon Technologies, and of course, Sandesh Bhatkal, Global Business Leader, AI Cloud at Tata Communications. Well, gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us for this very important and relevant conversation. We are in the AI era, right? And everyone at this point in time talks about AI as a business mandate, but we've seen nearly 80% of the projects fail to scale still, right? So AI is everywhere, yes, but the impact clearly isn't. So starting with you, Ganesh sir, where do you see that bottleneck? Where are things breaking down?
So let me give some perspective first. So human civilization has seen many technology disruptions, right? Starting with steam engines, electricity, computers, internet, right? Mobile phones, AI, right? Now we have AI. Each of these, disruptions, there has been a cycle. So let's take, for example, internet, right? At first it was a new fancy thing, everybody wanted to get on board. They started trying a lot of things. So from being a fancy thing, everybody saw a huge opportunity in this, right? And they started to get onto it, and then led to a bubble which burst. But out of that came, very solid use cases, very solid production rollouts, right? And now today we have an internet economy, right? Imagine a day without internet, right? Something similar is happening with AI, right? Right now, it's a new tech on the block, right? Everybody is rushing towards, to make use of it. They are trying all kind of things, right? Slowly and gradually, solid implementations will come out, right? And we'll see, a lot of failures also happening along the way, right? So I think as of now, right, it's an adaptation cycle, right? It will be at both at technical level, at the cultural level, right, and on the business side. But one of the areas where it is breaking down is expectations, right? Okay. The expectation is that, we have reached a stage where AI is equivalent of human intelligence, right? In more technical terms, it is called as AGI, right? Artificial General Intelligence. But we are not there fully yet, right? So it will take time to evolve. So I think we should have some patience and just, flow along.
All right, we should have some patience. Of course, we are not there yet, as you said. Amit, if you can come into the conversation quickly. You come from a fast-paced, manufacturing environment. So when you try to push AI from pilot to scale, to production, what are those bottlenecks that you see?
Yeah, so thanks for having me here. So see, in a pilot to productions, in our kind of environment, we keep doing a lot of POCs, a lot of pilot projects and all, and we try to find it out what can be a scale as per the value propositions, what is coming up. Three major pointer, what we are looking, are the issues, the bottleneck. One, it is not just the AI, because it's an entire ecosystems. When I'm talking about the ecosystems, in that three major pointers, one is first is coming up as the data quality. So, the data quality, because in a real environment, in a fast-paced manufacturing, if we talk about, we interferences with the multiple data points, machines data, PLC data, sensors data, multiple systems together. And if the data quality and the foundation block is not, the clean enough, will not be able to, algorithm will not be able to give the better results. So that's the first point. Second point, what we're looking is the processes. Some of the time when we're going into the real environment in the manufacturing, processes variabilities are there in terms of the SOPs, in terms of the batches, in terms of those dynamics are there in the actual environments. So AI works very nicely when we talk about the standardized processes, but when we talk about the decentralized, customized variabilities, and there where the differences started coming up. So we need to look at those aspects as well. And the third pointer is coming up in the terms of the peoples, So when we're talking about the fastness, we have a myriad operators, the operators variabilities, the nuisances in the operators, the shift particularly parts of it. So how they are driving those things. So what kind of inputs what we are capturing. So these are the three bottleneck what we are looking at broadly in our kind of environments. So as I said, we needed to it's not only a AI algorithm and all those things. You also have to look at the jointly where the people, processes, the data quality, and how we have to improve it. So these are some of the bottleneck what we are facing.
All right, but Ganesh, what do you think? What is that thing that business must understand before giving a green light to any AI use case?
So I think first of all, what are the business outcomes that you're looking at, right? That is very critical, right? So let me take an example of usage of AI tooling in software development lifecycle, right? There we are definitely seeing the maturity of the tools, right? But are the teams equipped to give the kind of business outcomes, right? They have to be prepared for that. So it's not just a tool and technology, it's basically, the preparedness of the teams. Second area I want to highlight is usage of AI in customer care, for example, right? There is a lot of, customer, well, in terms of business outcome, the expectation match is there, right? But in terms of customer adaptation, people are still not very comfortable, right, in chatting with a bot. They want to chat with a human, right? So the adaptation on the customer side is another thing that will happen.
All right, if you can quickly come into the conversation, Sandesh, this is the time where we talk about control, right? So before companies even think about governance or scale, they also think about capacity. They need control over capacity, right? Cost and also the operating plane. So how do you, from the solution enabler perspective, how do you enable the enterprises to get that foundational visibility, so that their AI doesn't become a budget black hole? Very few people will talk about the budget aspect, but it's a very important issue when it comes to AI.
True, absolutely. In fact, so when we talk to a lot of clients, they talk about 50 shortlisted use cases. They will talk about 100 use cases, but the uptick is not there because ROI on most of the use cases is not there, right? So internally, the finance organization always look at how much it is going to cost.
Yeah.
When are we going to get returns out of those investments? Now at Tata Com, what we have done, understanding the complete AI life cycle, we have given priority to three elements, which is visibility, predictability, and control. These are the foundations for a responsible AI adoption eventually, right? So when you look at visibility, it is nothing but clear dashboarding, continuous monitoring of GPU usage, cost allocations, historical trends. You can actually also have recommendations coming from great forecasting tools that your GPU usage may cross the limits that you have set. There are budget alerts. So all these dashboardings will actually give you insights into whether you are going for a cost overrun or no, and whether you are within your limits. If you are already within your limits, then how can you do more with less? Yeah. So all that is possible. Then when we look at the other element, which is FinOps. FinOps is nothing but giving you the ability of understanding how your AI is going to really run with the budgets that you have taken into consideration, and how you will be able to really allocate more. In fact, features like automated optimization recommendations are really going to help clients understand that the workload is not requiring more GPUs or more compute. So you can actually go and roll back something and give it to some other project which may need it. And the last element, which is obviously the control. There are a lot of features in Tata Comm's AI Studio which enable customers to use an elastic GPU pool to scale on demand. So you don't have to really keep GPUs idle by committing a huge cost to them, and you can scale on demand. So all these features actually give control to the customer to really go and shake hands with AI's life cycle along with complete financial control. So that gives not only freedom but also a good element of control to ensure that there are no bill shocks in future. I think that's what we have done. And to add on to it, Tata Com actually helps clients save at least 30% cost on cloud, because we have transparent pricing, and it is completely automated, and the most important one is we don't charge for any egress.
Yeah, that's very interesting point over control that you talked about, Sandesh. And Ganesh, if you can come into the conversation, when we talk about control, also we need to establish to whom or onto whom the responsibility lies, right? When it comes to the end-to-end ownership, where do you think the responsibility lies? Is it with the engineer? Is it with the product? Or is it with the business owner?
Okay, so I'll split it into two parts, right? First, let me take on from the last conversation, the ROI part, right? We should not just look at from the point of view of ROI, right? We should look at from the point of view of return on missed opportunity, right? If there is a disruptive technology and an organization doesn't invest in leveraging that, keeping in mind the future, they might miss out the market share to the competitor, and where it will be too late to catch up, right? And I'm seeing it as we talk, right? So that's one part of it, that the ability to experiment, right, new things, and having a budget allocated to do that. Now there, what should be celebrated is the trying out of the new things, right? That's one part of it. Second part of it, what you talked about, that once basically take it to the production, right? And if things go wrong, right, who's responsible, right? So let me put it this way, that there are different teams. So if I look at the business owner, the engineering and the product management, let's say, right? They overlap, okay? And in a traditional model, that overlap used to be less, right? But with the usage of AI, now a product owner or a product manager can also code. So they don't have to write a spec, they can create a prototype and give it to the engineering team, this is what I want, right? And then the engineering can pick it up, okay, we will write more solid production code onto it. So this overlapping zone is expanding, right? So the element of collective responsibility is increasing, right? But that's not how the organization operate, right? Somebody has to be responsible end to
We
end.
still need a class monitor at the
Exactly,
end of the day.
right? So that basically ownership lies with the business owner, right? But business owner is going to delegate to a very important function in the organization, which is basically the program management function. The program management function has to tie the whole thing together, right? And bring everybody, in unison. Given that this has expanded, that is fine. But this is the way I see, it is going to work. And the teams in future, would be structured not just on agile, but in super agile way of working, right? I've shared this in my, one of the articles, and they have to build a, a mindset of continuous improvement, right? Which is basically you cannot be at a status quo. The things are moving at a very fast pace, but you have a very intelligent assistant. You don't have to go to your, manager to discuss something, or a colleague. You have an AI assistant sitting next in your laptop, right, or on your mobile phone. You can start to brainstorm things right over there and come up with the next innovative idea.
Yeah. So agility perhaps has to be at the top of your CV.
Super agility.
Right, super agile. Amit, do CIOs need a different operating model, something that blends in all IT, data and business teams together, so that, that AI doesn't stay in your pockets?
So certainly, I mean, many of the organization, if you look at that, has started, in fact, including us, the separate AI wing, which is the part of the combinations of IT, data, and the AI business team together. So it has to be augmentation. So CIO role is no more looking just the service desk and a central classical IT. It has to be, and again, it has not to be independently CIO role to drive the AI things. It is something like has to be co-created, co-developed and co-owned. along with IT, data team, business team together. So this is the kind of things certainly we would have to look at. Yeah, and most of the other factor is, the most of the organization AI flow horizontally. Most of the enterprise is still working in a vertically. So we also has to be augment all these things together, like how we can do that.
Yeah. No, thank you so much for sharing that point. And Sandesh, if you can quickly come into the picture when we talk about governance, right, which is perhaps also a very important part of AI. Right. So governance, we know that is no longer a checkbox exercise. It's a part of design. It's design principle, right? So please help our audiences understand, what does comply by design mean?
So, comply by design means that it needs to get embedded, in the journey itself. And while I will take the other question first, when to start, right? Because enterprises are looking at doing compliance at the later part of the journey, but that's not how it should be. It should be embedded right at the architecture stage when you are defining how your architecture is going to be. Putting in the relevant compliances will actually help them save cost later, and it will be less risky because they don't have to really then think about and have compliance as an afterthought. Coming back to the first question that you asked, no, there are again couple of elements which are very important when it comes to compliance, right? Sovereignty. We hear of so many geopolitical discussions happening. There are after effects of geopolitical wars are happening, and everybody is concerned about whether their data is residing in a sovereign cloud. Where is it? So sovereignty is nothing but having your data and your workloads within the legal jurisdictions of where you choose to be. So that is one element. Second element is data residency, right? The most important is where your storage and the processing of data happens is what you can actually enforce by policy. And the third element that is also important is your auditability. Ability to really understand which user is logging and what changes are taking place, and it is easily reportable. That is what is these three elements put together will actually help put these principles in design right at the start, and these will help ensure a seamless flow, and there will be no issues coming in from the CISO organization. So there are multiple organizations, as Amit rightly said. AI will touch the life cycle, will touch every organization within an organization, right? So everybody will be as involved if you have this design principle right from the start. And that's what Tata Com also believes. We are completely sovereign cloud governed by Indian laws. In fact, we comply with the DPDP 2025 and all the relevant regulations defined by industries also.
Yeah. When we talk about AI, perhaps this is where the human intelligence comes in. I didn't ask you about when to start, but you already predicted my next question and decided to answer that first. So we should keep in mind about the human intelligence also. Well, coming back to you, Ganesh, how do you sort of avoid slowing innovation with a lot of compliance? I mean, is there a workable middle path when it comes to, of course, agility and compliance in AI development?
Okay. Why I'm laughing is that it's a everyday problem.
Yeah.
See,
we touched the right chord.
With every evolving, technology, governance is just trying to do a, catch-up game, right? Tech is evolving at a very fast pace, right? The governance structures are evolving, right? And there are concerns that need to be addressed, right? So it's a work in progress, right? On one hand, basically, we have to experiment. We have to take risks, right? But these risks have to be calculated risks, right? Because otherwise, we will stifle innovation, right? When it goes to production, we have to make sure, right, that whatever the the compliances that are put in place as of date, right, we are strictly adhering to that, right? So I think both have to go hand in hand, right? But we have to take calculated risks, right? If we have to innovate.
All right, thank you so much. And now we would like to move on to our next segment on how to run reliably from cloud to edge. And Amit, I would like to start with you. We know that real world AI means messy environments, factories, warehouses, a lot of stuff apparently. So how do you sort of ensure continuity and predictable latency when interference plane is of course partly on cloud and partly on edge?
See, in our kind of an environment where the speed matters, our UPH, UPPH, these kind of things should be much higher to beat the competitive markets. Now to place that, of course, there is an edge and there is a cloud. Edge where we would have to keep, that is where the latency should be very minimal, that's is kind of a platform what we are building. At the same time, all the intelligent related activity, if you have to train the model, you have to retrain the model and everything. This has to be kept at the cloud. And in between, we have an inferences layer, which is something like a distributed systems talking to the edge and the cloud together and, creating a bridge kind of a things. So that's kind of the approach, that's the standard practices what we are building in our case, which is also helping in terms of, supporting a business in terms of, if anything network goes down, any latency happen, then in that case also because of the help of this inferences layer, it cannot be disrupted. Yeah. That's keep going on. At the same time, at the cloud, but we are getting an advantage like, all our model getting trained and we're getting the AI outcomes from there. So that's kind of a holistic things what we have kept it on.
All right, thank you for mentioning that. But in my sense, a lot of organizations, gentlemen, still underestimate the operational side of AI. So Sandesh, if you can come into this conversation quickly from your perspective, from your vantage point, what does it take truly to run models reliably at scale?
So I remember you starting the conversation saying 80% of AI projects fail, and I will just stretch it a little more. They don't fail because of bad models, but because of poor operations, right? What actually people miss out is having a mature operations layer, which helps them scale reliably and without all the disruptions that they may face, which eventually happens, right? When we talk about operations at scale, we talk about elements like drift management. Now, models are known to deviate, right? And that's why continuous training is required, proactive retraining is required, fine-tuning is required. And a lot of people, a lot of clients that we speak to who are in the business of building small language models these days, because many people are experimenting using open source models and building small models. So they have to be extremely careful when they do drift management, because a lot of use cases are customer facing, and as Ganesh rightly pointed out, customer care. Now, while people don't like talking to a bot, imagine a bot deviate and drift a little, and that would be the real nightmare for that enterprise. So while it is internal AI applications, still things can get managed. But when it's customer facing, reputation is at stake, right? So a lot of these things need to be very closely monitored. Along with the FinOps, the observability that we spoke about, drift management is an extremely important factor to scale reliably.
So in your sense, what does a mature AI operations layer look like?
So it comprises of all the elements put together: observability, FinOps at scale, a platform which helps you detect the model performance. You should have cost governance. That is what it will take to really scale operations.
All right, thank you so much for sharing those points, gentlemen, and it has been a wonderful conversation with you all. But quickly, one last question, and Ganesh, if you can quickly come on behalf of all of them to answer the question. As we know that organizations are now pushing into production, so what should be their top 3 non-negotiables?
So transparency and trust is number one, right? Strong production control systems, right? So if, for example, drift happens, something you should be able to roll back, right? And TCO control, right? That is very essential, right? But not at the cost of experimentation. So transparency and trust, strong production controls, right? And then lastly, I would say responsibility with human in loop, which is very essential, right? So you cannot, have an oversight without human in the loop. That would be, as we just discussed, it would be disastrous actually.
All right. So from your conversation is what I get that control, of course, this is where we started our conversation with. Comply and continue framework is what is going to help our AI to sort of scale in future and not just keep failing. The 80% number that we mentioned in the beginning should perhaps reduce in the coming few years. Well, thank you so much, gentlemen, for being a part of this conversation. It was really wonderful. And to our viewers, stay tuned for many, many more such interesting conversations only at ETCIO, where we talk about the hype and break all the myths for you.